Are you good?
Yeah, I am. I am. I'm currently in my car at the beach. The band have all dispersed to go camping to recoup after all this 8 weeks of touring that we've been on. So everyone's sort of out in their own different locations in the middle of nowhere, New Zealand.
And you're just chilling. But by the way, let me ask you this. Are you into surfing or anything like that? Or when you go to the beach, you just go to chill?
Yep, me and Lewis are both surfers, so we like to surf and all that. I think Henry used to surf one point. I don't know if he does anymore.
That's cool, man. I used to do it when I was younger. Now, as you can tell,
Mm.
I'm much older, and the age catches up to you.
Yeah, yeah. No, we have a pretty good, decent country for surfing with all this ocean around us.
Yeah, for sure, you guys do. But just be careful with the sharks because you also have like some killer whites down there in that part of the world. So you got to be careful with that.
We do. The orca for sure.
Yeah. So first of all, before we talk about the album, let's talk a little bit about that tour. How was the experience for you and the guys to be on that Kerry King tour?
Oh, it was actually super cool. For quite a few reasons. Reason number one was unlike some tours where agents and management just organize who's on the bill and you just get told and you show up. This one, Kerry had actually specifically asked for us to be on the tour, which is special off the bat, because we had seen him. It was a Rock for People, I think, in the Czech Republic or Austria, or it was some festival we played last year, and we noticed him watching us side of stage during our set. And then before the end of the day, a whole bunch of people, not Kerry, had told us like, "Oh, I hear you're going on the road with Kerry King next year," and we were like, "What? This is the first we're hearing of this." And then Kerry had come and talked to us at the end of the set, like, "Yeah, yeah, I think we'd be looking forward to touring with you guys next year." We're like, "Nobody's told us this," and then our manager told us 2 weeks later in London, like, "Oh yeah, you are going on the road," but he wasn't supposed to tell you yet. So that was dope. The second thing is like someone like Kerry, we've been saying this in other interviews. He has been a touring musician longer than we have been alive, and with that comes another level of expertise and knowledge that is difficult for us at 25 to comprehend, So these tours are opportunities for us to sit and learn, from these people who have been doing it for so long. And not that doesn't just apply to his band, but also his crew. He had an amazing crew, and we shared a few of their texts actually, which was really useful for us. We were able to kind of share some crew and learn and apply to our own. And, take notes for our usual crew when we can afford to have our usual crew from Belgium. Um, so it was just an awesome opportunity all around. He was a great guy, very humble guy, and yeah, just an absolute legend and expert at what he does.
And you are the newest, I mean, you're not the new member of the band, but you are the newest, if you will, member of the band. How was it for you to come in into pretty much like a very family dynamic style band? How was the integration, for lack of a better word, for you moving in into Alien Weaponry?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Obviously, the boys were not strangers to me. We grew up with each other. We all went to high school. Me and Henry were in high school bands. Lewis was very good friends with my younger brother, so that we were by no means strangers. And Maori people as a culture are very family oriented. We're a community based culture, so that concept is not strange. So for me, it just felt like any other day, joining in. And it had been a long time since I'd last seen them, because I went to university and they were off doing the band thing. So it had been sort of a while, but you know, it just kind of the the muscle memory of having known these dudes for so long just kind of kicks in very quickly, and you get used to it. And then of course throughout the years that I've been a part of it, like the family side of it has slowly faded away, as in like with their parents and all that. Like their parents don't work and tour with us anymore, so it's just the brothers, and in terms of being who's the family on the road now. And which changes the dynamic a little bit again. Brothers are a little bit better when there's no parents. People don't want their parents around forever.
I totally get that vibe. I totally get that vibe. And speaking of kids and parents, my son is a huge fan of you. He watches your shit on like all of the platforms on social media. I found out about that when we checked out one of the singles from the new record, and he's like, "Man,
Yeah,
I love
I was
this
gonna
dude.
say.
Like, he's so super cool, and I love the shit that he does. Like, and I'm learning a lot about with the information that he's putting out there. Like." He'll be psyched to know that you're going to be on the channel chatting with me. He's sleeping right now because he's playing video games until 4 o'clock in the morning, and now he's
Oh yeah,
sleeping. You know
that'll
how
do
it
it.
is.
No, but I actually, because I watched your reaction to Momoko, and when he said that bit, I was like, oh nice. And then I also watched the album review that you posted a couple of days ago as well. So I'm definitely familiar already myself.
Yeah, for us, you're like part of the family already. Like he's always talking about you. He plays bass as well, and he really
Nice.
appreciates everything that you bring to the band, but also in terms of the culture, bringing a lot of awareness and information to folks like us that are on a completely different part of the world and don't necessarily know everything that's going on or even understand the things that you guys have gone through. And I want to ask you about the record, the title of the album. I have a very small curiosity. Does it mean earth or land?
It means the sun.
Oh, I was way off because in Portuguese that word means land, earth.
Mm.
I'm Portuguese, so that I thought, okay, maybe there's some interconnection with the languages. So it means the sun.
It means the sun. So the title of the album is actually the shortened version of one of the tracks, Tama Nui Tera. So Tama Nui Tera is actually the full name that is encompasses the deity or spirit of that is the sun. And we took our inspiration from one of the Maori myths, if you want to use the word myth, which has Maui in it. Maui is a very famous demigod made popular by Moana.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but
Part one and part two.
right, right. But he's a prevalent demigod throughout all of Polynesia. He's not exclusive to Maori. And he completed a bunch of feats, that gave us the world around us. One of the famous ones is that he fished up all the islands of Polynesia. And then one of the other ones is that he slowed down the sun to give us the days. So the sun physically would fly across the sky every day, like plop, in the blink of an eye, and people couldn't get anything done. And Maui was like, I'm sick of this. So he got his brothers, he trapped the sun, and then he literally just beat the sun up. He beat it into submission until it slowed down and gave us the 24-hour day or whatever. But that's one of the first stories that we like grow up learning in terms of like Maori mythology, Maori creation stories and folklore. So it's a very significant one for us, and a nostalgic story for us as well. That we thought would make an awesome story to tell through our song, and then it also later on ended up becoming a great story to depict as the you know album name and the album cover. So the cover artwork is our depiction of the sun flying out of this pit in the ground at super speed.
Wow, that is really cool. It's for me, it's this album. I know you were not there when they created the debut record too, but I felt listening to this album, as you know, after watching the review, it's a little bit of a throwback to that first record. Was that consciously like when you guys went into the studio, you guys decided to kind of like maybe not repeat the album, but bring a lot of the things from that debut record back into this third album?
Yeah, so this album for me as well, particularly, was the first time I had been a part of that album writing process from the get go. And I'm a guitar player first before I am a bass player, so it was an opportunity for me to sort of show everyone my chops as a guitar player and as a songwriter. And one of the things that I did in the process of creating a lot of these songs was I actually only listened to Alien Weaponry music because it's like I'm this guy. I have my own influences, but I've come into a band that has an established sound, so I need to know what it is about this band that makes it sound like this band, and what it is about Lewis's guitar playing that makes it sound like Lewis. So that even if I recorded the guitar in the studio, Lewis will inevitably be playing it live. So one of the things I did was I sat down and I studied Alien Weaponry music, and we discussed like what we wanted to achieve with this third album, and our sort of goal was to try and find a hybrid between the two albums of the bits that people liked. So obviously people love the catchiness, the grooviness of the songwriting in the first album, but people liked the technical improvements in terms of the technicality of the playing of the second. So it was like, all right, let's try and combine those two elements together to create this third. So there was a lot more focus on creating a songwriting structure that was reminiscent of the first album in terms of the like the if you're going to say the cookie cutter alien weaponry structure, which is a aggressive verse into the big melodic chorus, but then the guitar playing and the bass playing and the drumming and even the vocal techniques of a technical improvement similar to the second album, which of course just shows our maturity and improvements and progressions as musicians because we're no longer teenagers, or they are no longer teenagers, I should say. So all of those elements together is what our goal was, to try and achieve the sound for this third album.
I think you guys nailed it. Honestly,
Great.
I think you guys nailed it. You guys brought the best of both worlds together because I saw some modern elements there that I hadn't seen before in any of the previous records, and it's nice to see the band also evolve and pushing and creating new things. I wanted to ask you about a specific song, "Hanging by a Thread." When I listened to that track, now on the new album, that's track number 4, and "Holding My Breath" was track number 3 on the debut record. But to me, those two songs are like brother and sister. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, totally. I totally get it. So both of those songs actually are Lewis Love Child songs. Hanging by a Thread particularly was Lewis's love child on this album. It was the one song that like there was no chance in hell we were changing it or that it wasn't making it onto the record. It was the one that he absolutely had to have on the album. And we've been playing it live actually for our New Zealand fans over this tour that we've just finished ahead of the release, and people have been loving it. It's a little slower, it's a little grittier, a little heavier, trudges along. It's a great sort of song to put towards the end of the set and lets people catch their breath. And it is very reminiscent of that holding my breath kind of angst and riffage that comes in a song like that. The tunings are quite close to this album particularly is the first album where well, actually, like 50% of the songs are in drop A, and Holding My Breath was in B standard, so it's only drop tuned down a
Yeah,
step,
yeah.
to evoke that similar low, dark sensation and sound out of the guitars.
Like
Cool song, a
despair.
great chorus,
There's a
right?
sense of despair in both songs.
Yep, that's the word, despair. Perfect.
Uh, I always wondered because for us that are not in New Zealand, you guys really carry the New Zealand flag, not only the Maori flag, but the New Zealand flag, the cultural flag of the people of the land there. How is it for you guys at home? Are you guys like huge rock stars? Like, are you guys the Beatles of New Zealand? Like,
Well, it's quite a funny thing, that's why we spend, the last time we did a New Zealand tour, we just finished one, but before that was 5 years ago, other than between that time, we've been spending all of our time outside of New Zealand because, well, really it's that the genre is not a huge thing here. It's less to do with us, I think, and more to do with the popularity of heavy metal music. And, but when we went into this tour that we just finished, we were quite pleasantly surprised at how much growth we'd seen in our audience since the last time that we played here. Because we were kind of like, man, it's been 5 years. Does our country even remember us? Have we become some distant idea of the past, and now Europe and North America have claimed us as their own? But this tour that we just played was actually incredible, and it was awesome to see new faces. Even more so, it was awesome to see more Maori faces because heavy metal's already not popular, but in general, it's even less popular amongst Maori communities. Maori communities tend to lean into the R&B, hip hop, reggae department. So, but what we've been seeing over the years is people come out to our shows because of what we do for our people and our community, less so because of the music. We take a lot of photos of people that go, oh, I don't listen to heavy metal. I don't listen to any other heavy metal except for you guys. Definitely don't go to the shows, but I love what you guys do and how you guys represent our culture and our country and whatever. And so I think it's cool to come support that, which is awesome to see. So our New Zealand growing fan base is still growing for sure. And we're still definitely, we can walk around in silence and, not get pestered everywhere we go, which is very nice to have. When you spend the time all over the world, it's great to be able to come back somewhere where you can just kind of
Yeah.
and still be acknowledged and appreciated where in the right environments.
Is it extra pressure for you guys? Because when you write a record like this with incredible songs, and then you use the music videos a lot of times to even make the message of the song. Because for people who don't speak the language, they may not get what the song is about. But when you watch the music video, then it's undeniable. I mean, unless you're blind, you can see exactly what the song is about. Does that add extra pressure on you guys because you're carrying that heritage and that flag beyond the borders of your nation?
Well, we do have to be careful. We even for us, we have cultural advisors during the music video shoots, to make sure that everything is being done as correctly as it can be. We also have, like, even in the lyrics of for the writing of the album, like, we use my uncle as our language consultant, just to double check that everything that we're writing is proper and used in the right context from the right perspectives. So there is definitely, like, this element of being like, oh God, we really need to make sure that everything is correct. But luckily we have the facility and the community around us to help us do that. Family and people like that who have more knowledge than we do. We're only young. We're still learning a lot of this stuff. But at the same time, because of that, a lot of people are really willing to be a part of these projects because they see the value in sharing these things with the world. Like the Momoko music video, a lot of the people in that video are Henry and Lewis's family, from because we film it all down there in Rotorua, where they are from. And, they just think it's cool to be a part of something that brings awareness to something, whatever it is, whether it's the old videos or the new videos, it's all there to put some eyes and put some noise out there in the world towards whatever it is we're talking about, and the Momoko one, of course, the Momoko one's interesting. The song itself lyrically is not about the heads. It's just about moko. But with the video, we were like, it's close enough in subject matter. Let's make it about the heads because that's an important, message to get out there, because there are still, like, the British Museum, for example, has supposedly hundreds of these things sitting in a basement, and they have the decency to no longer display them, but they still don't want to give them back.
Well, those guys are known for taking shit from every place that they
Oh,
went. You know what I mean?
yeah, they sure are. They
If they,
sure are.
if probably if they could have carried one of the pyramids from Giza all the way to London, they probably would have taken one too. But
Yeah, yeah. Rebuild it brick by brick.
yeah, yeah, just dismantle it in one place and then rebuild it in another. I
Yeah.
mean, they definitely have the historical background of taking shit with them. And then I find it amazingly surprising that then when people from those countries go to their country, they're not happy about it. So it's like,
Right.
dude, you came to mine, and now that I'm coming to yours, it's not okay. Anyways, I don't want to get sidetracked, but I always find that kind of shit really hilarious, for a lack of a better word, when especially when that history is there to be read and to be seen. You said earlier that you're a guitar player, you play bass on the band. Any chance in the future of you guys going with two guitars live?
You know, it always gets discussed, periodically, because so on the it was the North American tour with Gojira back in 2021. And on that tour, we had a few headline shows sprinkled on at the end. And during that set list, we had played Unforgiving, which was a slow melodic song from the second album. And in that song, there was a guitar solo. And on the record, I recorded the guitar solo. And they wanted to play it live. So what we did on those, like, 5 headline shows was me and Lewis both played guitar, and we had the bass, like, coming out of a sample track sort of thing,
Mhm.
so that I could play the guitar solo when it came to that section of the song, And we have a song, you would have heard it on this album, that has a guitar solo, which I also wrote and recorded on the album. Because sometimes, we feel like this is an element that, not always, but is sometimes lacking. Like, we want this thing in the song to give it more texture and more depth, but we don't have that, you know. And then we've been playing that particular song off the new album live. And what we do is we just, the guitar solo doesn't exist live. You know, it goes straight from the second chorus into the breakdown. You know, so every now and then we always go, oh, is it time? You know, but unfortunately, well, it depends on how you look at it, but half the reason we maintain a three-piece status is because of how expensive it is to be a band from New Zealand. You know, one extra person is one extra set of flights out of the country, and like when we tour, like most of our budget is all on airline costs. You know, so adding just one more member can be the difference between us even being able to tour. You know, so as it currently stands, we have no plans on changing that. You know, but it's
If
definitely been
if it ever
whispered about.
happened, if it ever happened, you guys wouldn't bring like a hired gun, somebody from somewhere else. You guys would want to keep alien weaponry with the roots that it currently has, right?
Well, you know, and that's the thing, you know. So there was always discussion of like, if for some reason maybe Ethan, you know, the bass player before
Yeah,
me
yeah.
wanted to return, then like, oh, maybe we put Ethan back on the bass and I jump over to guitar or something, you know. Like, there's been all sorts of like little things because the tricky thing with us is it's hard to do the hired gun thing because of what we do culturally. So we would at least need somebody who was able to sing the language because of all the gang vocal stuff we do, and you know, there's so many more elements at play versus just getting up on stage and playing an instrument, you know, that um, become a part of the process. Because they had done it before. They had hired Bobby on one of their tours when Ethan had gone home to finish
Yeah, I
school.
remember that.
Yeah, you
I
know, but
remember
he
that.
was Australian, so it was like he was just there for a few weeks, but you know, he struggled to sing the Maori lyrics, and you know, there's all these different elements that make it a little harder for us to just grab any old capable musician, you know. So if it ever happened in the future, it would be another big process, I think.
One step at a time, my friend. One step
Right,
at a
right.
time. And uh, and on that note, thank you very much for your time, dude. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you. You're. I gotta say this because it's not every day that you meet a young person as well spoken as you are, not just during this interview today, but on everything that you do on social media. Keep doing it. It's reaching an audience beyond perhaps what you can even think or imagine. And you're like the perfect person to really carry that flag because you're very well spoken. Like you have a way with words. That's what I'm trying to say. Not everybody does
Thank you,
that, but you
thank
have a
you,
way with words. So keep doing your thing, man. You're doing a great job, a great job. And this record was phenomenal, as you know. Like it's a great album. It's nice to see Alien Weaponry coming back with a record like this.
thank you very much, thank you very much, and send my regards rather to your son for me.
I will.
I
I'll
like
let him
watching your
know.
guys' stuff.
He'll be pissed that he was asleep during this. Otherwise, he would have walked in and say hi to you. Like he's a huge fan, dude. He's a huge fan.
Yeah,
So, thank you
yeah,
very
yeah.
much. Enjoy your surfing.
Thank you, thank you. Enjoy the
Take
rest of
care,
your
man.
evening.
Bye.